My name is Victor Goines. I play the saxophones, clarinets, and flutes in the jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. Well, I'm from New Orleans, Crescent City, Big Easy. New Orleans is everything. Growing up there, it's just a place where you get to be yourself. It's the most relaxed place in the world that I've ever lived, and I've lived in lots of places. I've been lots of places. And I was really fortunate to grow up around a group of people who, little did I know we would all be in the music industry at this point in our lives. Wynton, Branford, Harry Connick, Nicholas Payton, Donald Harrison, Terrence Blanchard, and the list goes on. It's like a roll call. I had the greatest education in music that one could possibly ask for. So this is Galvin Street, one of the main drags, or main streets that go from uptown to downtown of New Orleans. It's the street that I grew up on. And it has changed quite a bit. I haven't been here in about 4 years now. And inside of here, man, it's funny how people do things. There were 5 of us kids and my mom and dad.
Victor has asthma. And when he was about 8, instead of buying toys for Christmas, I thought buying him a horn would help him with his breathing. So that seemed, he kind of stuck with that.
Music was it. Music definitely caught my attention really, really early, and the experiences that I had with all the great musicians around New Orleans solidified the fact that I would go in that direction.
Well, Vic and I went to kindergarten together. The first time I remember him, we were playing in something called Jesuit Honor Band. Then when we started getting to high school, we all started playing different funk bands. And then I knew Vic, I would see him. He was going to school called St. Aug. If something falls apart, we always will look to him. And he will bring us in or let us know what's going on. And for me, Vic is he's like a godsend. Like for me, he looked out for me in so many ways. And when something goes wrong, you watch Vic, and you're gonna see a lot of humanity.
I was in New York when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. And I remember watching it on television in my apartment in Riverdale. And as everybody watched it, it was like, oh man, look at all the water. Oh, look at that. That city is going under. And I was like, that's Galvin Street that's flooded. That's Marigny. That's Esplanade. That's Cedric's house. That's Cedric's mother's house. It wasn't one of those things where it was flooding like New York is flooding the Atlantic City or something like that. For me, it was flooding friends of mine's homes in my mother's neighborhood and my sister's neighborhood. So it was very painful to sit in New York and watch that. I think one of the things that Katrina affected the most, as I found out, my mother, who now is back in New Orleans, she lived in Texas for a while as a result of Katrina, is that the displacement of families, it destroyed that communal aspect of what New Orleans is all about. Now they have another communal aspect of it now, but it's different. It's just different. 'Cause that's my home. We like to talk about gumbo in New Orleans all the time. You can put the expensive items in the gumbo. Well, first of all, the gumbo was really just a matter of a broth and anything you had in the house to fix. It was really a poor man's dish. But over time, it became something else. So putting oysters in there and crab and shrimp, which are expensive items. So you can bring all of that back in terms of the wealthy people in New Orleans. But till you get those people who live in the night walk back in New Orleans, you're gonna always be missing that some seasoning inside the food that makes the city what it is. If it's something as simple as a bay leaf, you're gonna be missing that, because that's something that's gonna make the city be what it is. You cannot have just one class of people in it, and you can't have one race or one religion of people in it, because that's not what New Orleans is all about. It's about everybody coming together. And when they get that back in some kind of way, I think it's gonna be probably another 10, 15 years. When they finally pull that back together, then they'll start to see shades of what the city used to be like. But that's an item that's missing that they need to try to figure out how to address. In New York, he was like, look, man, the gig is at 8. Come at 7:45. People gonna be here. New York is on that have that rhythm to it and that energy that's always going on all the time. And if you don't get with the beat, somebody else will. New Orleans is a place, there's a lot of music going on, but it's laid back, you know. It's like, oh yeah, man, don't worry about it. The gig is at 8, we'll start at 8:30. It'll be cool.
Let's fly down, get in the back and drive down to New Orleans. That city is called the Great City, with historic scene. I'll take you and parade you on down to
In New Orleans, and all over the world probably, but specifically in New Orleans, there's a fine line between what happens on Saturday night in the nightclub and what happens Sunday morning in the church service. And sometimes the lines are a little muddy, just like the mud of the Mississippi River, and the two come together at times when it's just right, like good food in New Orleans. Saenger Theater.
Saenger Theater.
Okay.
That's
Saenger.
our show. It's called ABYSSINIAN 200.
Okay.
It's a piece Wynton Marsalis wrote to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Abyssinian Baptist Church. It's a big entourage with the Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra and the 70-piece choir.
Have a great
We'll
morning.
see you somewhere. I get the feeling. I'm Catholic. I'm from New Orleans. We call it Catholic City. And the music in Catholic church was very formal, you know, it's very conservative, let us say. It wasn't like the Baptist experience for certain. And that's the one experience that I wish I always had more of. My grandfather was a Baptist minister, ironically. But I didn't quite get that experience. And sometimes when we get to play something like ABYSSINIAN 200, it just magnifies the fact that that's an experience that I wish I had more of growing up as a kid. It's really been easy for me to maintain the spirit of New Orleans in the music when I play with this group. I mean, one thing is that there were so many people from New Orleans in the group. I probably learned more about how to play New Orleans music being outside of New Orleans.
It don't never change.
The importance of keeping any tradition alive is such that when we talk about studying the historical aspect of music, so it can be as simple as when I look in your face, I don't only see your father and your mother, but I see glimpses of your grandfather and your grandmother, glimpses of your great-grandparents and so forth and so on. And that's what the music is about. It's about tradition. And we have to always keep our tradition inside the music. Not only in terms of small doses, but in concentrated, intense doses. It's not enough to just, matter of fact, the word enough should never be in a sentence because it's finite. We should get the entirety of something in it, not just the enough of something in it. So that's why it's important that we include all of these aspects, and that's why it's important that when you listen to ABYSSINIAN 200, or when you listen to In This House on This Morning, or you listen to In the Sweet Embrace of Life, one of those pieces from In This House on This Morning, you hear all of those aspects of the New Orleans tradition, specifically all of the different experiences that Wynton has had.
it's like a family of us in a continuum, and we continue that vibe. So I don't feel it is a different band, it's a different time. Yes, it's different, but it has the characteristics of that feeling, because we have embraced that feeling all along the way. We're part of like the same thing, and it's not, you know, maybe it's not understood. Maybe we don't communicate it clearly enough, but that's the reality of it.
We ran into Victor at sunrise on the Mississippi River this morning.
We asked him to take a picture of us this morning, actually.
And he told us about the performance.
We used to live in New York, but it took us coming to New Orleans to see jazz at Lincoln Center. So.